Be like, all right. So talking the talk with Don once again. I got a really cool guest here. I got my buddy Keefy here from the Ghost Cult magazine, who is also a comrade of mine that I have been working with on the Ghost Cult as well as the Glacially musical Pouredcast with our friend Nick Boom Boom Cameron. Uh,
Boom boom.
so,
Just a different nickname every day of his life, the rest of his
so
life.
that's what I've settled on is that it's he's just going to have a different name every
Well, so
day.
like he does that with me, right? So he's like Keethy consideration, Keethy kumquats, Keefy Klondike bar, Keefy, and like half the time he hits it like Kerry Strug, sticks the landing, and the other half of the time, or Simone Biles, and the other half of the time he falls face first trying to wing it, and it is adorable. I'm not mad. It's adorable. It's fucking adorable. So love to Nick. And we're getting to do this podcast because he is otherwise ensconced today. So you and I get a bonus of redoing our previous do over podcast. But glad to be here, Don. You were one of my favorite people. Before I knew you, I was a fan of the brain fart. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
if you're trying to like shed that personality, but it was a huge part of
No.
who you were. Should be proud of everything you've ever done, good, bad, whatever. And I was a big fan. I just love your vibe, everything about it. You carry yourself a certain way. You have integrity. You know music. For the most part, we agree on like 82% of all music, and that 18% that makes you a special little guy. Special little guy. I'll let you have it. And just like me, yes, I want to pat you on the head and give you a little binky and a baba. And with some apple juice and have a sippy cup and then go lay down on a mat and with your snuggly buddy. But you know, there's nice. Oh God, it's Eddie. I thought it was a Roy Thomas Baker for a minute there. I was gonna forget. If you suddenly had a Roy Thomas Baker voodoo doll or something, I would be very
It
upset.
actually is Roy Thomas
Oh,
Baker.
Kind of does look like him a bit. Shout out to Eddie the Ed. But there's so few. There are good comrades in the business. I think most people want to be good operators, and the difference with you and I hate to say it and sound like a little bit of a elitist fuck, but we're gonna just go there. I think there's some people in the business that didn't come from the background we came from, where we took this very seriously. Like, I want to be a journalist. I went to journalism school. I have a minor in musicology. I was a professional musician, sort of, for 20 years. I'm now back to being in a band again for the first time in 15 years, and I'm singing lead like a front man for the first time in probably like 35 fucking years, and I'm just going for it, which is making me really happy. I'm really good. You've caught me on a pretty good upswing the last few days. It's been a very rocky. Everybody knows I'm very, honest about my shit. So like, you got me in a very good bunch of days. So this is gonna just be a cherry on top.
Oh, dude, I fucking love it. But I have to say, well, thank you, obviously, for everything. But it's so funny because we do go so far back without even really knowing each other then. Because, you were with Metal Army, correct? Or, yeah. Was
Throwing
it?
it all the way back to
I
before
know.
Ghost.
I know.
Yeah. I'll
Our,
give
our,
you. Let me give
yeah.
you the 10,000 foot view.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was a cold winter's night in 1971 as my father was screwing a cool cigarette into his mouth and sipping on a scotch on the rocks. And he shot a glance across the room to my gorgeous mother and did one of these. And next thing you know, I shot out of his ball sack and into my mama's womb, where I nestled in there for 9 months of coziness. And then I was splooged out into the fucking world, the cruel, mean world that I have never fucking really felt at home in, because of whatever fucking problems I have and mommy issues and shit. And here I am. And I was a rather accelerated child. I was a bit of a musical prodigy as a young child. My brother played music. My father sang casually. My mother was a performer and a dancer, and she was definitely 100% a stage mother. And I was her male Gypsy Rose Lee. Get out there and push me right through the curtain into the spotlight, and was like, you can do anything you set your mind to. I had like particularly encouraging music teachers as a youth who were like, this kid has something about him. I did a lot of community theater. I auditioned for television and films I never got into. My acting coach was Doc Hopper's assistant from the Muppet movie, Austin Pendleton, who you probably know from Oz and SVU, where he always plays like a
Shut the
weird,
fuck up, dude. Are
creepy
you
serial
serious?
killer. He was my acting teacher when I was a teenager, and he was like, "You have the chutzpah of like you're like a kid Brando, and you could do anything." And I was
The
like, I really don't
chutzpah.
enjoy acting, though. I really enjoy singing. And I went to the infamous Fame High School from the movie and television show, the High School of Performing Arts in New York City, LaGuardia High School, where my classmates were Omar Epps and Marlon Wayans, and many other less famous people. Because what happens is when you're kind of like a special kid, and then you have to do that shit, like when it's just like a hobby, it's one thing. But when you have to do it every day like homework, you fucking hate it. I didn't. But it, high school wasn't all you would imagine. There was some fun there, but it was also challenging. Like I said, everybody knows the story. I sang backup for Whitney Houston for a president. Unfortunately, it was Bush Sr., but in hindsight, he's one of the better presidents of my lifetime now, horrifyingly. And I played in bands for a long time, mostly metal rock and some punk rock stuff. And I had like really lost my vocal confidence because of high school, even though I made it through and did well. And then I got it back. I joined bands. I cut my teeth in New York City in the punk and rock clubs. I played like thousands of shows over a bunch of bands. I put out a couple of records and EPs to varying mild success. Regionally, we were regional heroes, local legends in our own mind, not our own time. I did get to open for bands like Testament and SOD and El Nino before they were Il Nino, and Shadows Fall before when they still had Phil Labonte from All That Remains as the singer, and Doro. And then, like, this is a really good story that I've told a few times. Like, 15 years later, when I interviewed Doro for the first time, and I told her about that, I opened for her at this metal festival in New Jersey. Basically, the New Jersey attempt at a Milwaukee Metal Fest by Jack Koshik, who robbed and paid no one. He robbed the money and paid nobody. But we were like the opening band on Saturday at 12 noon. And like a smattering of people had been there for us. Members of Immolation got up out of bed, hungover, to come see us, which was cool because we were friendly with them. And they remember that. Actually, Robert Vigna, I interviewed him not too long ago, and he remembers that, which is great. Doro remembers, like, in her great... Have you ever talked to Doro?
Oh my God. I absolutely love Doro.
Yeah, so Doro's adorable, first of all.
Yeah.
She's clean and sober for like 40 years.
And
right? She doesn't do drugs.
Honestly, one of the sweetest,
yes,
like most sincere people you will ever fucking talk to. Absolutely.
Absolutely. I agree. But Doro remembered watching me play and sing. Oh, I remember the Metal Festival very well because I keep a diary every day of every single show and everybody that played. And I distinctly remember we went for breakfast and then we came into the venue to check it out because we were playing at 8 at night before Testament. And you were there and you were chubby and you had long red hair and you played bass. And you was the only singer the entire day besides me and Chuck Billy that could sing a melody. And I remember this very, very well. I'm like, what the fuck? How? Oh, yes, I remember you look the same face except no hair. Now you have no hair. And I remember you, and your band was very good, very heavy metal and thrash. I liked it a lot. And then we went and did other things. What? Doro remembered me like that, and she still remembers. Like, she saw me in person. I interviewed her in person. I've interviewed her a few more times. Oh, hello, Keefy. How are you? Why are you not making music anymore? Good voice. You should sing. Doro told me I should be singing, so I guess I didn't listen to her advice for a long time. But anyway, that's kind of the Cliff's Notes of my whole career. And then like you mentioned, Metal Army. I was doing some different blogging for myself and other people. If you're familiar with the social media character and account Wolverine Kills, the scourge of the concert industry, where he leaks all the concert tours and festivals.
Oh, I remember that. Yes.
So he was the original moderator for the Mouth for War message board for Pantera.
Oh, you gotta be kidding.
And so I was writing for him at the Vulgar Display of Blog, which he should have kept, actually. This is a great name. And then he transitioned to Wolverine Kills, was like his screen name, and then he just made everything Wolverine Kills. And he's still doing Wolverine Kills, and he's pretty successful. And I did a few other things, Nefarious Realm, which is a small metal blog out of New England. And then I ended up at Metal Army, and I went from like starting at Metal Army to doing most of the news for Metal Army and a bunch of interviews and reviews, and they were paying. So I was like, I'm in college and I need a second job. How much can I get paid from this? I will write every day for you. And then there was a series of handovers where different people were running it. And then I ended up taking it over because nobody else wanted to do it. And then a few years later, they just killed it off. So Metal Army America, for those that don't remember, was so all the record labels were trying to have the same success Roadrunner had with Blabbermouth. Originally,
Mm-hmm.
Blabbermouth was spun off of Roadrunner.com,
And
and it was brilliant. Like if we
it
have
was like
news
roadrunner.net slash da,
slash
da, da, all
Blabbermouth,
that. Yeah. Yeah.
and it was like let's have the CNN of metal, have an everyday 24/7 metal resource, and we'll use that to also sell tickets and merch and albums and things. And it is brilliant, and advertising space, and it was brilliant. It was a big money maker. And then they spun it off to their own thing. They let Borovoy have it himself, and he took it over and just kind of spun it out. And now it's its own thing for like 30 years, 25, 27, 28 years. And so Century Media had their own thing, Century Media Records, had their own thing, and it was Metal Army, and it was events in LA, and it was different things.
Mm-hmm.
Some of it was a little questionable, including a connection to Is Anyone Up, the infamous revenge porn site.
I was just gonna say, I remember that kind
Yeah,
of.
I hated all that.
I kind of actually I used to have a link exchange. You remember when
Yep.
people used to do those, and
Yep. I
I
still do
kind of
them.
had to.
I don't do them anymore, but
I haven't either, but I kind of had to scratch them because
Yep.
of that.
Yep.
That was pretty
Well,
bad. Yeah.
there's more. There's more. So the psychos, they're killing it off. They shut it down. I lose all my work, years of work, 4 or 5 years of work. At the same time, Liz Civarella Brenner of Earsplit PR put me in touch with the guy who was the co-founder of Ghost Cult. And they're like, listen, we're trying to grow our thing. We got a digital webzine in Europe. We got a very big underground following covering underground music. We saw that you are on the East Coast. Would you like to cover like New England Metal and Hardcore Fest for us? Because we see that you went there and did it for something else. And I was like, not only can I do that, my thing just shut down. I'm wide open. Let me come on and be like your US guy. And I didn't want to give myself a title, but they did. They're like, you be the US editor of Metal of Ghost Cult. And I was like, not only that, I have a whole staff of people that just worked under me, reviewers and concert photographers, and they're all looking for something else to do. I'll just take them with me to you. And that's how it started. Then a few months later, I ended up taking over on a temporary basis as the interim editor in chief. And then it was like, I'm gonna not do this anymore. I don't want to own anything. You can either kill it or you can have it. I was like, well, here we go again. I'm not gonna lose all my work again.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I'm going to take it over. I never wanted to own a thing again, actually, or feel like I had ownership of a thing. I really wanted to write for Decibel or in better days, Revolver. I'm sure as a teenager, I loved Hunter S. Thompson. I wanted to write for Rolling Stone and Lester Bangs, even though he kind of hated metal. And he came around at the end of his life. So that's kind of the long-winded story of my life. I've been a part of Ghost Cult since 2012, which it's been around since 2012. I took it over roughly this time in 2013, so 12 years ago around this time I became the owner. And 2 years ago my hetero life mate Omar Cuttis, if you listen to us on the Glacially Musical Pouredcast, became the co-owner. And we still have a staff about 40, 50 all over the world. We cover metal festivals, concerts. I interview bands on my YouTube. We have podcasts, all the social media stuff, a newsletter. It's pretty exhausting. And that's what we do.
It totally is. And so, like I said, or like you were talking about earlier, is that I feel like that when we started doing this, we were doing this probably around the same time, was that it was in such an early mode, for but like still trying to figure things out. Like blogs were still hype, you know what I mean? Like they were still like the thing, but I felt like we were seeing so many blogs coming, and then what was happening is that they were trying to hit it really hard, monetize this, that, and the other, and then they would fold after like a year and a half, 2 years, 3 years, or whatever. And so, I guess what I was going to ask you is, because I know for me, when I started this, the thing I was kind of facing myself with was like, okay, so what do I want out of this? Like, do I want this to be career based, or do I want this to be like, again, like, do I want to just be someone who just does this for the sheer passion of it, and is able to play by my own rules and do my own thing, not have sponsors, not have anything like that. And sometimes I wish I would have, but then there's times where like when I have these incredible experiences that I'm like, okay, I'm glad I didn't go that route for me. So, but as for you, what was it that drove you into that direction where you were like, I could see trying to like make something of this.
Yeah, I'm a maniac. Um, I'm only happy when I'm working to the point of ridiculous exhaustion, which is bad. Like it's just not healthy. I've been talking about it in therapy. It's just not a good way to go. And I'm only happy when it not only happy when it rains, but I'm only happy when I'm busy and I'm driven with a purpose. And I love garbage, by the way. Fucking full stop. Shirley Manson, still a babe and brilliant, fucking brilliant. Um, I like at whatever level of success this could be, and we're still, basically a volunteer operation. We do make some money. I did, if you know Jessie May from Turkey Vulture, who did, what did she do? The Money for Millennials and Metalheads, her book, right? I did an interview for
I
her
haven't
blog about a
I haven't
year
heard that.
ago.
No.
Yeah, yeah. She wrote a whole book on personal finance for metalheads and people in bands, and she had it checked by a CPA. It's brilliant. I wrote the second edition quote for it, for the back cover, quote of
Oh,
my review.
I gotta look at this. I gotta
Yeah, I'll
check that
send you a
out.
link. I'll send you a
Yeah.
link.
Yeah.
She may still have a few. I think she just shut down one of her bands, which is too bad, but she's doing other stuff. It's time to take a break basically for her. She's got two kids and whatever, kind of burned out. But she's brilliant. She still has a blog, Metalhead Money. Go check it out. We'll link it in the description. I'll send you a link. And I did an interview with her where I talked about like what money Ghost Cult makes, much to the chagrin of everybody else at Ghost Cult. Like, why would you tell people what we make and don't make? And I was like, because why lie? Like, we're not, like, I would do this hardcore for nothing. It's like there's a line in one of the Matrix movies where Neo meets the architect, and he's like, "Well, what if the Matrix ends? You're gone too." And he goes, "There's levels of existence we're willing to go down to."
Mm-hmm.
The guy with the little pen clicker, right? And I feel like that a lot. Like there's levels of existence. I would do this anyway for free. I would do this if we made no money. I would do this by myself. I would do this with 100 people. I would do it with the people we have. I would take a bullet for, and I've had to defend them against assholes and charlatans and other people and abusers, and even some bands. But we do bring in some money. We have affiliate marketing from the website through Lamb Goat Media as part of Lamb Goat's network. We are monetized on YouTube, which makes us some money quarterly. We have some other occasional ad sales. I'm trying to get focused on that and get some people to help with that now. Once in a while, there are some brand deals where they will give us some money to do a product. I got. Sometimes they come out of the blue and they seem very fishy, and sometimes, anybody that asks you to buy something up front and then they'll PayPal you, fuck no. If you want to send me a product to review, we can do semi-professionally good-looking reviews. I had one of the first affiliate deals with Liquid Death. They don't do them anymore. They do partnerships. They don't do
Right.
affiliate deals anymore. They don't do sponsorships anymore. They do affiliates.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, their affiliates used to be like the first couple of years of Liquid Death, we were making like thousands of dollars from our links.
Mm-hmm.
And we shot like a little, it was during the pandemic. We didn't know what to do. Me and Omar were living together in another part of the Bay Area. He's back in New York where he's really officially based, but we were living together for a few months out here, and we just shot a Liquid Death commercial, which if you haven't seen it, I'm sure you've seen it. If you haven't, I'll send it to you. It's hilarious. I dump a can of Liquid Death on me. And
Star, stage, and screen.
yeah, yeah. Well, there was a time. There was a time. And but yeah, I'm driven to do this. So I would do it like, ethically, journalistically. There's a process to everything. There's a style guide, as you learned coming on the right with us. There's sort of a loose, I trust you because you're really talented and good at talking to people and getting them to talk to you. Ergo, talking the talk with Don and Southeast of Evan and the Brain Fart. But also, like, there's kind of like, I don't want to be asking people about their favorite jelly beans or piece of pie. I like to be a little more serious. Maybe that's pretentious of me, but I take music seriously. It means everything to me. I wish I told my counselor today, I was like, do you ever watch a lot of Star Trek from the 60s? She was like, not much. It's like, okay, I did. And I'm really a Star Wars guy, but Star Trek originally, original series and Next Generation. I like all the Star Trek. I don't give a shit. So I was like, there's an alien race on Star Trek. They're blue and they have antennas and they really communicate to each other with music. But they learned how to talk to humanoid races with English to get by in the Federation. But like literally, their whole shit is telepathy and music. And I'd rather fucking talk about music, think about music, listen to music, live shit, breathe, eat music than anything else. And if I could find like Wayne's World a way to get $5,000 to do this shit, I got $5,000. I wish I could, but like it's an uphill battle. You have different levels of people that do this. There are corporate backed entities, which is the most of the top 20 music websites in the world, or they came from the magazine world like Kerrang and Metal Hammer and Brave Words. So they had a magazine following. So they had that old school, old guard media, old media cachet that's still, I don't think it's relevant as much, but it counts for something. Money, revenue, respect. Then you have the big corporate entities. Like I said, Metal Sucks and Metal Injection are owned by Sony now, since they sold a few years ago. And so they have infrastructure, corporate backing, money, hire and pay people, so you have more opportunities. And they have, probably like I say Lambgoat is probably like 6-7 times bigger than Ghost Cult in terms of yearly traffic. We get nice traffic. We have some good following on socials, but it's it's a constant work, and you have to do this because it satisfies something in you, not because you're looking for fame. Some people have become huge stars on I'll ask your opinion. I'll interview you about a question I have for you, but like some people have just, taken off. YouTubers and podcasters and stuff like that did not come from music journalism, do a lot of hot take stuff, not really fact-based, just kind of like whatever is clickable, and you see that a lot. And there's a lot of, even among the so-called journalists, there's some bad actors out there. There was a story in the last couple of weeks that pretty much dismayed me. And let's just say, without outing people, the entire story didn't have to get reported completely. You will see a lot of websites. Okay, so and so dies. I find death notices. Death is really hard for me. I had a lot of death in my immediate family. I'm very empathetic. Roberta Flack died this week. Very sad. Michelle Trachtenberg, who was not even 40 years old, who was like a Nickelodeon actress.
Oh my God.
Buffy.
Buffy and
She might have
Gossip Girl
been
and
sick for a long time. And,
yeah.
Just unfortunate that she passed. It's very sad to me. It's okay. It's enough to say so-and-so died. Here's what they were known for. Here's a message about it from their social media or their PR person. Here's a GoFundMe to their family. Rest in power. You don't have to be like found hanged in their basement. You don't have to do that.
No.
That's not necessary. I certainly don't put that stuff in headlines. I really don't like writing these things anymore. I don't like doing we have like a breaking news thing on social media that we do occasionally.
Yeah,
and it's like,
yeah.
I'm getting away from doing it, even though it's a lot of traffic. And I'm sure my partner is going to be mad at me for it, but like it's taking a toll on me to keep doing that. And I'd rather, yes, I will report on it. But the original Annihilator singer died, the Allison Hell singer.
Yeah.
He also died this week, right? And I didn't get to do a story about it. It happened last night, found out last night, saw it on Lambgoat. And I was like, if I get around to it, I'll write it. But these things take a lot out of me.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't know if that makes me weird or like, okay, so here's the thing. I went to journalism school in the 90s and I did drop out at the very end, which is fucked, but I literally did 4 years of coursework to get a bachelor's in journalism. And my mom got sick, so I dropped out of school to work 2 jobs to take care of us and take care of her. But I basically am, I've worked as a journalist. Even I was a professional writer at my own publishing company when I was 18. I thought I was going to go work in sports, but I ended up also being in bands and gravitating to music. And I kind of, the reason I got into full-time music journalism or part-time hustle music journalism is, and like I said, I put myself through grad school working as a journalist, basically when I wasn't going to school full-time and working also. And at different times. And, the thing about it is like, again, I've always carried it with this seriousness. And again, maybe it makes me sound like a douche. I don't think so. I think it's appreciated. But of course, we're in a new landscape now with, again, different kinds of content makers and providers and different types of websites and things. And sometimes is the written word coming out of favor? I wanted to ask you your opinion about Do you think, I ask this of bands all the time, do you think reviews still matter? Do you think interviews still matter? Do you think premieres still matter for blogs? And do you think that maybe real serious website journalism has been supplanted by like YouTubers and podcasters? I know it's your show and I'm interviewing you, but I wanted to kind of break out and ask you that because I want to know. I ask a lot of our brethren this.
I mean, I'll be honest. I probably have a certain amount of bias, because I'm an old dude. I'm 51. We're in that same age. Like, I mean, you're about 7 years older than me, but it's
What the fuck? I thought you were like 5 years older than me. So like, whatever.
oh,
I have a
shit.
baby, a guy, a friend of mine at karaoke Monday after I came back from the Cavalera show. I hit the last few hours of karaoke at my regular spot, and a friend of mine who was extraordinarily drunk and maybe coming on to me a little bit more than usual was like, he was like, dude, you are a handsome motherfucker. And I was like, well, thank you. I am a handsome motherfucker. And I have a baby face and beautiful fucking eyes that change colors in the sunlight from blue to green sometimes, like my mother's. But like the rest of me
They're
is
gorgeous.
a fucking disaster. I'm like Carlin's cocaine body at 70 when the doctors thought he was, are you 100? He's like 71. All the arteries are hardening. Like, I have to turn this shit around. I didn't think I was going to be here. I didn't think I was going to live past 40. My parents died before 60. It fucks with me. And I really didn't think I was going to live longer. And now that I'm here and I want to live longer, I fucking hate it because I would have probably not done anything differently. I would have kept shoving crap in my face and drinking all the drinks and smoking all the weeds and taking all the edibles and snorting all the Bolivia, which I didn't do much of, but a little. And I don't really like cocaine, just the smell. I just like to smell it a little.
Oh.
I don't like it that much, just the smell of it.
That's a famous quote from Kevin Dubrow and
yes.
Frankie Banali.
Yes. Rest in power to both of them. Shockingly, both not alive anymore. But sadly, love both.
Yes, yeah.
But I don't know. I would have taken better care of myself. But like, this weighs on me sometimes because we work so hard collectively. All of Ghost Cult is a team effort. It's not just me. It seems like me because I'm the forward face. Seems like me and Omar are the most known people, but really there's a whole writing crew in Europe. There's photographers all over the country. We are at metal festivals everywhere. We just applied to cover Shaky Knees with you possibly going.
Yeah.
Hopefully. I imagine you got an email that was a confirm of my what
I did actually. Yes. Yeah. Yes,
and
absolutely.
There's another photographer local to Atlanta that will go cover it. I see the dog is like looks like Ben Kenobi with a blanket. Oh, he dropped the blanket. Okay, but he's got the blanket. That's great.
I'll have to send you the Photoshop.
He did like the Ben Kenobi rescuing Luke and R2 and C-3PO on Tatooine.
Matter of fact, I might edit a picture of that in here.
You should. I mean, I would have if I had a dog like that dog. I'd have that dog in every cover photo or make a Bitmoji of your dog to go with you. Like,
he's fucking awesome.
He is awesome. Yeah. He's been a part of. He was a part of our interview we did a while back.
He was, and he's back. And he's back again.
Just chilling. He's just chilling.
But I mean,
I wonder. Like, I saw a shift the last couple of years. I'm not trying to hijack your interview of me.
No.
I saw a shift in the last couple of years where like reaction channels were hot for a minute and then gone. And podcasters who have a tremendous reach, which is why, like, really, as much as I enjoy these videos because I like to see you and I think the conversations are better, I think podcasts, leaning into podcasts, you see. I remember doing a presentation on podcasts in 2010 in grad school at Boston University. And my mentor, who eventually became my boss for many years of paid work, and then I even filled in for her as a teacher at Emerson and BU for different points, which was awesome. And I got to teach classes and do my own curriculum and slide deck and teach the class. There were definitely some classes at Emerson where people were not like native marketing students who were like, what are you fucking talking about? I did a whole presentation on The Walking Dead. I used The Walking Dead, like stills from the TV show first season as an entire presentation about Facebook one time.
That's
yes,
amazing.
I meant the users and Zuckerberg at that time, Zombieberg. And then I had Rick and Carl memes like Carl. Anyway, so I see the shift on that maybe we're not respected as much or valued as much, or just like because the quality is diminishing. Some places are still, listen, man, like Blabbermouth, like I said, 28 years, whatever you think about them. Comment sections on the internet are horrible anywhere you go. Reddit, everywhere is a shit show. And, Sucks and Injection are around 20 years basically now. Lamb Goat is around 25 years. They have new ownership the last 3 years, but basically 25 years of Lamb Goat. PRP is around for 2 decades plus. So their Metal Hammer, Kerrang, again, Brave Words are 20 plus years old because they had physical magazines going back
Yeah.
30 years. But, like maybe we're not respected anymore. Maybe because there's so many clicks to go around and people are really on apps more than anything else, that to get them to go to a website is hard. It's really hard. Algorithms are all squishing us down. Traffic comes and goes. There are months where I have like gangbusters of traffic and months that are dead. It's been dead the last couple of days. I can't honestly tell you why. I've had great stories. I'm up all night sometimes. I'm up awake, posting a story before anybody and sharing it everywhere. I hate to kind of hold myself out a little bit, but you just kind of have to pimp yourself out. You have to. Sex work is good work. San Francisco, San Francisco's.
I mean, you have to do that, because that's the thing, is that I have seen that pivot, and probably even more so than maybe a lot of people that do what we do, mainly just because from the get-go it was always just me. Like, it was always just me monitoring, like, seeing what my stats were, seeing what my traffic was, this, that, and the other. And so I've actually been able over the years to see, and it's interesting because like the peak of my blog was probably 2012 to 2015 or so, where and again, this is, it's just me. I mean, I was shooting the photos, I was writing all the reviews, I was going to the shows, which I still do, but like, and I was averaging anywhere from 1,500 to 2,000 hits a day. But now, like, my traffic, I see, 500, 600, 700 on a good day, maybe 1,500 or whatever. And I think what I've noticed more than anything is that I don't think it's so much that we're losing the respect of people, because I feel like you and I are lifers. The fact that, dude, it is an honor for me to even think of like someone like, Luana Valencia, who is like a legendary PR person for Nuclear Blast, who to this day is still one of my closest friends and who still reads my blog.
That's amazing. She's also a great singer and
she's amazing. When she
vocalist. Stepped down from the business, she stepped down.
She did.
And I miss her and send my regards. Like Keefy from Ghost Cult and Metal Army still, the respect is still there, and it was an honor to work along people. I've been lucky to work with some of the greats.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like we got, over the years we grew. And I think what we've done, or, at least like what I did and stuff, was that it's like anything else. As you get older, you got to keep track of trends. You got to keep track of where things are going. There was a reason why, when I first started the blog, that I was typing up all my interviews. I was recording them, I was typing them up verbatim, then editing them down for conciseness, and then posting them, because I liked that. I liked reading. I liked picking magazines up and reading interviews and this, that, and the other. And then I started to realize, it's like, the amount of work I'm putting into this, what would happen if I kind of pivoted this over to the podcast world to see what happens. And then all of a sudden I saw my work cut in half for getting more traffic, so all of a sudden, like and the beautiful thing about that discovery was that, like, on a blog, when you've written something, you've poured your heart into it, and you post it, 7 posts later, it's gone off the front page. And let's be honest, people don't infinite scroll anymore. You remember the HTML days, dude, where you just had to fucking just keep drag. I'm totally convinced that's why they invented the wheel mouse, was just, to HTML scroll. But, we've hopped into the
end of JavaScript and Flash.
Flash, God, that was
Flash kind of also fucked that into the ground with the web experience and time spent on websites and things like that, because people's attention span is smaller. I definitely get some criticisms from my live stream where it takes me a minute to get into the whole flow of the stuff, and they're like, hurry it the fuck up already. I want to hear what the news is, not this bunch of shout outs and minutiae. And I'm like, if I don't tell you the minutiae, you're not going to remember anything else. Like, you're not going to know to go to my site and do anything.
Yeah. I mean,
I
but
would
that's the
say
thing
this,
is
like
that I
another
wasn't,
thing
I
you
wasn't a
really,
journalist,
yeah,
to
well,
do that stuff. And so, but at the
I
same
felt like you
time,
were.
kind of like what you said was that we were, I don't know, I enjoy this. I enjoy it for what people, respect out of it. I mean, I have over 2,000 followers on Facebook. I've got, just since I started doing the podcast, like more hardcore over the past, 5 years or so, I've got, a few hundred followers on YouTube. But again, it's one of those things where like I'm there. I'm there,
You
but
show
I'm
up and you're there every
also
week.
yeah, but
You
I'm
still
not
have a handful of
also
posts.
yeah,
You have a handful of
exactly.
posts. Realistically, like music journalism is the only business that doesn't thrive on sort of the same order of operations that everybody else does. So, like in the corporate world, I'm a social media expert, and I never wanted to be one of those social media experts with a lot of smoke and mirrors. In fact, the calling card of my career is I'm brutally honest, and I'm less successful as a result. I don't have inflated followers. I don't bullshit people. I give practical advice. That's why I got hired by labels and bands to coach and teach them how to do social media for themselves. And they're like, this is a fucking chore. That's when you can pay me, if you can pay. That's a whole nother story. But like really, um, I think like I said, your work stood for itself, always spoke for itself. I love your personality. I
Oh,
love the
thank you.
book. I think Catherine Turman co-signing you with the book was huge, a huge bow of respect. She is world renowned and great. I met her. I never got to interview her. I tried to. I couldn't get it fit in. I was supposed to interview her in Wiederhorn once for the redo of Louder Than Hell, but I met her a few times. Super nice, super knowledgeable. I've heard her on other interviews and other things. So much respect there. And yeah, man, like that's why I wanted to work with you. In addition to just being your friend and doing this with you, I wanted to work with you because, like, again, I'm searching for high quality people. I don't have time to school someone from scratch and train them. Now we have had some interns, and I'm still looking for a couple of warm bodies to help with things. But
Mhm.
like, I'm not here to teach someone how to do what you do. I don't want an army of me, a Bjork reference. I don't want a whole army of me's. I need different personalities. That's why I'm trying to farm out some of the stuff and like work myself to the death. During the pandemic, like that 2020, I was out of work in March, like everybody else. And I did like 300 interviews in 150 days, like a madman. I was doing 4 or 5 interviews a day. They were all suffering. They were not great, but I
Yeah.
did by quantity. They were huge, and it really, like, our barely used YouTube channel was suddenly like off the chain successful and growing for the first time because we really didn't work. I wish if I could go back in time, I wish I had done YouTube seriously from day one and put myself out there and been on videos and done interviews. We were doing a lot of interviews in person, and then Omar would go edit them. The weekly show
Yeah.
started before the pandemic, technically. Well, I think like right around the pandemic it started, and like right. It was the idea for it was right before the pandemic, but we started doing it. Like I would film in my house on Wednesday, so most of the stuff comes out on Thursday and Friday. Monday, Thursday, and Friday are the big days of the work week for music journalism and stories and new stuff.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so we would record Wednesday night. I'd get as much in as I could. And then Omar would go home Thursday. He would usually be off on Thursday, would have half a day of work on Thursday, edit the whole fucking day. And then we would put it up on YouTube Friday. And it was, maybe we missed like 4 weeks out of 5 years at this
Mhm.
point where there's always a show. So for whatever reason, it does okay. Does it do gangbusters? There's definitely like a guy out there who's like, 27,000 listeners on my Mixcloud show. You didn't. That's cute. You did not, because no one's checking
Mhm.
your work. You can bullshit people some of the time. You can't bullshit people all of the time, and yourself. But I'm proud of what we do. I'm proud of what you do. I would want to be your friend. I'm so thrilled that we're friends in the circle of trust and all that shit. The fellowship of the dorks, because like with Nick,
The
who
D
also
the
similarly to you, Nick also had the same, he had the same thing. I think he
yeah.
like the blog was too much work. The
Mhm.
podcast is much more natural for him and easy. He does multiple podcasts. I think if he had the time, he would do more. But being a work full time and having a family is, as you know, hard. So, I think he had the same experience you did. I don't like I'm trying to do less by delegating to other people, but like I literally physically and mentally cannot do more. For sure. I can't go back
Right.
to doing the like sleeping 2 hours a day, sleeping 3 days a week, and just write, edit, write, edit, write. I stopped
Mhm.
shooting shows around the pandemic. Before the plague, I was my last weekend of shooting. If I ever had to go back out there and shoot a show, I probably could, but like I'm not trying to.
Right.
And I'm trying to not interview every single band, and I don't want every interview to sound like me, even though again I am kind of the face of the brand. I didn't want to be the face of the brand, but here we are. And I was like,
Mhm.
I'm goofy and awkward and silly, and I'm gonna do it. I sing randomly at strange times, and I'm just gonna roll with that. That's my personality. That's who I am. It's not an act. And I'll tell you, I don't know about how harsh you've been by fans. I have had some brutal comments and put downs from people like this fat know nothing beardo asshole ass kisser. This guy talk more than the band. This guy kisses ass. He doesn't know anything. His opinions suck ass. I'm like, maybe, but also maybe I'm out here trying and doing. My whole thing was always like I was more hardworking and hustling and stuff than I was talented. I'm pretty talented at certain things, but like I was always harder working. I outwork everybody. That's
Mhm.
why we've lasted this long. That's why we've succeeded in certain areas.
I mean, and, and to kind of echo back to what you were talking about is that I think there's a reason why folks like us end up connecting. Like I was just telling my wife the other day, I said, I feel like you and me and Nick are like, it's like my new favorite throuple. It's like a total dysfunctionally dork music, everything. And I think that what it is that we're not the cool kids of the scene. And there's a reason why when I was a kid, like I wasn't cool, like I was not a cool kid at all. But like there's that scene in Almost Famous where Lester Bangs is talking to William Miller, and he's talking about how he's like, I used to just stay up all night, and write about the many faces of Coltrane and this, that, and the other. And like to go back to what you're saying, this is why I'll probably always have this blog for as long as I'm living, because the thing is that this is my outlet. It started for me. It started as a way for me to put my thoughts out there, to put my opinions out there, for better or for worse. I've actually had PR people tell me, you know what, like you will never ever work for a fucking website ever because you're such a dick. And I was just like, I mean, but this was like in, yeah, the brain fart days, which, of course had some unchecked mental health shit going on. But at the same time, that's still me. Like I'm not a filtered person. I'm not someone who just will be like, oh yeah, great. Yeah. You sent me a free album. I'm going to love it, and I couldn't go there, and I remember having these conversations with PR people, and some of them loved it, who ended up still being my good partners with me to this day, and some of them were just like, you're never going to work in this town again, but it is what it is. And we love what we do, and I think that I'm always just been drawn to people like that, people like you, people like Nick, like my best friend James. I mean, like you guys are all, like, we are all William Miller and Lester Bangs combined, you know
That is
so,
accurate.
because
Correct.
sometimes we're so fucked up that we're actually educating ourselves. We're like, Lester Bangs is telling him what to do. It's like, my
But
inner
he kind
Lester
of
Bangs
came
is
formed already. Like he had
exactly.
cultured his own taste,
Mm-hmm.
read everything he could read. Like he was a other music for gormandizers, right? Whatever omfug is from CBGBs. He was
Yeah.
literally consuming every bit of data from a physical thing, listening to all the records current, made his own opinions from the scratch. There's a lot to love about. I love that movie. We need to watch that movie and do a live stream about that and Dogma
Oh,
and a
we
few
need
other
to do
things.
that.
and we will get demonetized, but it doesn't matter.
Fuck it.
Because we're never gonna get monetized really anyway.
Based on our conversation that we're just having, right?
I'm not a hot chick, so I'm never gonna get. That sounds bad, but it's true.
Look, I would rather.
There are terrible YouTubers who are just beautiful people, men and women, and they and thems. They're just adorable, and that's why they're not. Content's not good. Their shit's not polished. They don't put the fucking hours. I'm telling you how many hours of conversations Omar and I have had, just conversations, trading documents back and forth, creating guides, templates, talking about this shit, refining our shit every week, every day, every year, trying to get better. Here's one thing that I don't think a lot of people really understand is, here's another thing. Two real big bugaboos for what we do. One you can relate to, and one, I think, being a person that, as a manager and a chief editor of other people's work, is a major fucking whirlpool of danger. Is this band problematic? And where do I draw the line on the art versus the artist? I don't want to get into a whole discussion about that because we basically do that every week on the other podcast anyway. But it's a problem. Especially
if they don't know where we're at this point, I think, you know.
Social media has been, but in general also, like, as a society, there are things that are unforgivable and there are things we should be forgiving.
Yeah.
And like, my first job in social media outside of music was in restorative justice. And I think if you go to jail for a crime and you serve your time, you should come back into society with tools to exist again and get your rights back, because you were penalized. The penal system is not about peens. It's about penalizing the criminal. Yeah. And you should come out reformatory, all these puritanical fucking ideas about the law. But, you know, being like a solely managing just one person when I was just a blogger by myself or work for someone else, to just manage everything is relationship management. You and me, us and PR, the management of bands for shows, tour managers, labels, gatekeepers at windows, at shows, at venues, other people coming in and fucking up the works.
Got the gatekeeping. God,
gatekeeping in general. I'm not talking about when I gatekeep the Grateful Dead or Journey away from me. I'm talking about gatekeeping in the business. Just joking. Nick thinks that I am exceedingly mean to him. I was like, I'm not mean. You just have bad taste in shit, and I'm gonna call you out on it for supporting Dio over Ozzy. I don't care. The music is better. Doesn't matter. Yes, Dio's a better singer. I don't care.
God,
original Black Sabbath only. Okay. Anyway, so listen though. But here's the flip side of it. Working for yourself, you only have yourself to manage. You only have yourself to worry about. You know, you're not going to go off some fucking deep end and blow something with somebody. And you were talking about the brain fart there a minute ago, and I can relate to that because I'm going to tell you, I'm in the game a long time now. I'm in the game like 17, 18, almost 20 years as a journalist. I was 20 years in bands, and now I'm in a band again, making music. And I know what good music is, and I know my levels of talent for writing, for editing, for making music. I know my weaknesses and my pluses for sure. But you know, one of the big problems of managing other people is you are accountable for what they do. They represent you. And a lot, you know, like what I'm learning is, and I really only learned it in the last couple of years, only I have my dream and vision for Ghost Cult. That means something special. Like, only I care about this thing like a child. Only I care about this the most. I don't expect other people to care about it the way I do. Even Omar, my partner, who's one of my best friends, like literally one of my 2 or 3 best friends in the whole world. We played in bands together. We have a lot of experiences together, been through ups and downs. I know that he enjoys the work. He loves doing what he does. He's proud of us, but this is not his dream. This is my dream. He's a ride along for. He's in the shotgun position for my dream. This is your dream. Whatever your dream is, you have the full control to do it and execute on whatever level that is. But like for me, I have had people jeopardize my reputation by being dickweeds for whatever reason or being unprofessional. And then I have to, you know, account for them. And that's really hard, especially when someone that's not getting paid. People write music reviews, especially reviewers, not interviewers, because I think it takes a certain kind of personality to want to do a good interview as a skill. But writing, people want to write reviews. They are opinionated and they want other people to validate their opinions. That's why people write. That's why people get on stage and dance. That's why people play guitar and sing. They want applause. You want adulation. I was a performer for a long time, as a kid, as an adult, now as an old man. And like, why would I do this if I didn't want attention? Why do I get up and sing karaoke? And I'm now a host of a karaoke night, a co-host. Why would I get up and do this if I wasn't a clown and I want to get up in front of people? It's that same kid that got pushed through the curtain by my mom. It's the same. I'm still the same guy, mostly with a bunch of other scars, mentally and otherwise, physical. So like, it's tough, man. I've had to account for some people. I've fired 5 people in Ghost Cults. Like, I'll say my whole career, I've fired 5 people, 4 in the history of Ghost Cult in 12 and a half years. And they were not, I was unhappy. Even a heinous person that I was happy to rid myself of, I still took something out of me to let them go. Yeah. Because I want to be a better boss than any bad boss I've ever had. I don't want to be the shitty bosses I've had. I want to be the best. I want to be Lester Bangs cool, even though he was a nightmare. Actually, in fact,
he's a hot fucking mess.
He's a hot fucking disaster of a mess of a person. But I want to be a better person and a better boss than any boss I've had, good, bad, or whatever. So like, I do try to coach people. I do, like I said, I had that teaching thing. My mother was a teacher and a choreographer, so I have that thing where I want to bring the best out of people, like a good sports coach. But there's also the flip side, the dark side of that, is you're dealing with people and you're dealing with personalities, and I don't mollycoddle people. So I'm not mean. I'm usually the Velvet Hammer, like Typo Negatives music, but at the same time, like, sometimes you're dealing with a situation. There's a couple of people that write for us. They don't really check their work very well. And I have to go over their work with a fine-tooth comb. And there's other people who it comes literally to my inbox ready to go on the website. Challenges with you a lot, with just you to worry about and me to worry about you when you work for me. You have, like, I love Nick, and Nick has been a huge addition to Ghost Cult himself, not just Glacially being kind of like he called this a Ghost Cult joint now, but like, because we collaborated on it, he let me become a collaborator instead of a sidekick, which I'm happy to be a sidekick because I'm a fucking clown. And I'm much more Robin than Batman in the 66 Batman TV series. I'm much more Burt Ward, but he allowed me to kind of help in with his dream. But at the same time, Nick also wrote a retrospective on Dark Side of the Moon, hammered drunk, and it showed when he sent it to me. I still ran it with some changes, but we love Pink Floyd at the Glacially Musical Pouredcast. They're my favorite band ever. But I gave him shit about it. I was like, try not to be completely drunk when you write these, or take it back and reread it the next day and be like, oh, I should not have sent that.
Yeah, or at least just be high. No,
well, he's never really. You're high. He's not high, and I'm high. He's not high. Man, it's there's challenges with this. Like I said, I think if I could leave you and the listeners away with anything else, I want everybody to it's worth it to do this. I love doing this. There is definitely a downside, which is your ego is going to take a bruising. And so we were sort of alluding to this a little bit. There's gatekeeping and there's gatekeeping. The job of the publicist and the job of the management and the job of the record label is to insulate and curate the experience for the artist when it comes to journalists, because most of them are not good. This current crop of people, they're not experienced. There's no fucking decorum. I remember very distinctly doing an interview and being told, please do not ask anything about X to this artist. It's very sensitive for them. They don't want to talk about it. Please talk about anything else. Don't ask about this. And I did what I was told. I followed the assignment and I did a great interview, didn't ask about this. And of course, the next jackass after me asked all the fucking terrible questions. And that's where the interview gets shared by the label, the publicist, and Blabbermouth. Now, I get it. The publicist's job is to promote their artist as hugely as possible. So if you're a smaller outlet, you're just not going to get the opportunities. We've managed to grow over time, where we've gotten some big opportunities. But it's tough. It's tough sometimes. There's rejection. Now, when I was only in New York City, and Ghost Cult obviously was all over the world, but just talking about America, we still are in America, mostly on the East and West Coast. I moved out here, but New York is where all the labels are. mostly LA and New York. A lot of the music blogs are based in New York, the big ones. So you're all competing for the same ticket and photo pass, just to bring up an example, or for the same interview. Today's the press day at Universal Music. We're going to interview Atreyu. I got to do that. It was fun. They were cool. We did that interview about like who invented metalcore. I think we did. And no, how could they say such a thing? Well, they were there. Like a
Mm-hmm.
bunch of bands were there in the mid to late 90s starting it. It just they invented metalcore and like people ran with that shit. But like, not everybody gets to do that. There's definitely been things I've been passed over for. There's definitely times I've been snubbed, but it hurt. There are definitely shows we were not allowed to get that I would like to have gotten, and just you're not going to win them all. You're not going to get every opportunity. I may never get to interview Metallica. It's been one of my favorite bands since teenagehood. I love them
Mm-hmm.
to pieces. I know I would do any interview with them would be great. Tomorrow, if they were like, you have 5 minutes. I once had a situation with Danzig where I was trying to get a Danzig interview, and he
I
definitely was
remember
not.
that.
Yeah. And it was like, hey, can you interview Glenn Danzig in 5 minutes about the record you haven't listened to because we didn't send you the promo? 100%. I'm ready. I'm ready to Danzig. If I can't interview Danzig, like, go. I'm fucked. Get out of here. It's the same thing if I ever got to do Maiden or some of these bigger bands. If I can't do it, I'm inept and I shouldn't have this gift to do this stuff. Most of this stuff is a gift. I'm grateful. I hope that comes across correctly. There's challenges and there's an ego bruising, but I'm grateful to do what I do because for a long time, this was my replacement for making music. This is my replacement for being it. I'm never going to get to the heights I dreamed of as a teenager and a child when I looked at Kiss Alive 2 and stuff like that. And when I put the Rock and Roll Over stickers on my first turntable,
Mm-hmm.
which was like a kid's turntable, right?
Yeah.
That I played all Kiss and Black Sabbath records on in Zeppelin. So like when I used to look at my brother would leave the house and I'd just like open his guitar case and just be like, he has a Les Paul Sunburst 58.
Like, did
And
it
just
light
look
up
at
and
it.
glow when you opened the
Yeah,
case? It's
like,
like,
oh, the Ark of the
whoa.
Covenant. Don't look, Marion. We're going to turn into fucking zombie monsters.
Yeah.
Spirits are going to invade our body and melt us alive and shit if he looked at the fucking. And he knew, I see your fingerprints on the fucking chocolate cookie fingerprints, you fuck. Don't touch my guitars. I'd be like, he'd leave the house. Ah, I'm touching it. I'm touching it. Fuck you. Ah, you know.
But
Um,
that's it's interesting because there's so many just the parallels that we have and that we share. This is what creates, at least to me, like not only, I mean, like I guess you could call it creating network, you could call it networking, but it's creating friendships because I'll be honest, like I do this for the same reason like what you were talking, but basically, like I said, at 51 years old, if I didn't write about music or do like, I, I mean, I still play music, I still record music, I make music, and I love listening to music, but I've always prided myself on just being able to talk about music with anyone and everyone that would be willing to talk back, and have some sort of a reciprocated conversation about, I don't know. I mean, yeah, again, I hate going back to Almost Famous, but there was something about that movie when that movie came out. Like I wasn't even doing, I wasn't writing yet. I wasn't doing the blog or anything like that. I was still in you know, my 20s, and so I was still actively young and playing music and bands. But when I go back now and I remember those little parts and those little bits of like wisdom that would come out of, the Lester Bangs, and like when he would say things like, I used to just write, like I, I mean, it's what I do, and to me, that when people get into it and people like it, like to me, that's it, a good example was, I'll give you a quick one that was still to this day something I'll never forget. Was there was a band called Gypsy Hawk who is no longer around anymore. You remember this, guys? Um, and they were from LA and they were touring all over the country. Who were they touring with? The Sword at the time. And I forgot where they went. They were somewhere up here, like in the East Coast. Maybe it was up towards New York. I don't remember. All I know is significantly far away from them. And I got a text message from their guitar player at the time, not Eric. oh my God, I can't believe I'm forgetting this guy's name. Andrew Packer. And he sends me this message. He's like, Don, he goes, I just wanted to drop you a line and let you know that some dude and his friend were just at our merch booth and they bought t-shirts and vinyl and said that they heard of us off your blog. And that was kind of this hit for me where I was like, okay, that's the currency that I want. That's what I want, because I love music so much. And when I love a band so much, whether it's the Grateful Dead or whether it's, I don't know, like Lycanthropy or Graveyard or Just in the Ancient Ones. Like, if I love a band so passionately, I want everyone else to love them. And then if you don't love them, I just think you're fucked. Like, I just think you're dumb.
I think the music is not like, some of the stuff that I like is not for everybody, and I definitely have my own certain taste in things and things that I gravitate to. A similar story, not quite the same, but similar things. There's definitely like two last points I want to make before we go. But I had a thing today where Ghost Cult, we did a giveaway. Sometimes people send me stuff to send out. Other times it's like, hey, partner up with us and help us promote this thing. So there's a band from Boston, Pathogenic. They're kind of like American, trying to be an American technical death metal band in the style of Obscura before they were shitty, and bands like that. So Alkaloid and, Doth and, Job for a Cowboy, American, Boston. And I saw that band when they were first coming out when I lived in Boston, and I was impressed with them. They were getting on big shows as the opener. Sometimes they would play the metal festivals up there and open for national headliners, and then just kind of go away for a while. They changed singers. That singer is back now. They have like original guys back in the band. They put out a new record last fall on a small label, and they came to me, their publicist came to me and was like, would you do a giveaway? I was like, love to. And I put it together. I did a little graphic. I'm not that talented at graphic arts, but I'm dangerous enough with Photoshop to do stuff that works. But dude,
I still use Paint Shop Pro.
Yeah, that's fine. Whatever you use.
Whatever works, man.
Shop Pro is not much different than Canva. It's about the same, maybe a little bit different. But so like we ran that today, and then I was like on my personal Facebook share. That's really all I use Facebook for, is Messenger to talk to you and Nick and a few other people, and I promote Ghost Cult. I use it for brands that I manage in social media as a marketing manager, but I don't really enjoy social media as much as I used to, and I certainly don't enjoy Facebook that much anymore. But I was like, oh, I probably have like 100 mutuals with these guys, and I tag like 20 of my friends, and they all know the guys in the band. Most of the people are like, let's go, and like, I know that guy, and I know them. Right. That's so cool. We'll all enter, and people, it was like, it did pretty well actually. Like, I figured out the secret sauce is sometimes to just share you got to share unselfishly. Not everything is going to just benefit you. Sometimes you're going to do something to help someone else that's not going to help you. The other thing I just wanted to kind of leave off on is kind of a last thing for me, and if you have anything else, I'm happy to answer it. Again, like my admiration of you, my respect that you were able to really put it down in a book, your life story a little bit, the other stories about music that are in that book. It's not a small feat. I would love to write a book. I have a treatment. I have a book in mind. I will never be able to write this book unless I step mostly away from Ghost Cult to do it. I don't know how that's possible. So it's probably not going to ever come to fruition, which is a bummer, because I really want to do my book. And then I think I would do my book in transition in conjunction with a documentary about the story about my book. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if I can ever pull it off. And I would enlist Omar to help do the filming. I just don't know if I can ever do it. So the respect that I have is enormous. It's like the Marianas Trench of depth of respect for you, because like you put it together in a beautifully written, heartfelt, important book. It's an important book in our scene to me. Mm-hmm. I would definitely put it up there with like, my favorite like 20 or 30 music books that'll last, the whole time I'm doing Ghost Cult. That's in there. So, you should really be proud of that. Take heart at that, because like, not everybody can do that. A lot of people are doing this that don't have, it's not about the background or I'm smarter and I know better. I'm old and I saw a lot of cool bands other people didn't see that are younger than me, but it's like, I was trained for this. This is really all I'm good at besides digital marketing and strategy, which, there are years where I'm making a lot of money and there's years where I've been homeless. So that shit's a crapshoot. I don't know if I'm ever going to pay off my 200 grand of student loans now with the current White House. the respect is enormous, and I really don't say it often, but it needs to be said. Like, you really deserve a tremendous amount of props for ever putting out a book, because it is, I'm telling you, I've explored how to do it, how I would do it. It's gargantuan. And I think that sometimes I'm drowning in work for Ghost Cult or whatever, and it's a gargantuan feat, dude, to do what you did. And you really should be like, pat yourself, give yourself some credit and pat yourself on the back and take a bow, because a lot of other people cannot do what you did.
Dude, that means a lot, dude. And of course, like, the mutual respect I think that we have for each other is on so many different levels, because and yet the same levels, like I have such uber respect for the amount of work and the lack of sleep and the insanity that comes with doing what you do, because you do it, you make it happen. And so for someone like me who looks at that inward, that's why I wanted in working with you, because I was like, okay, so I don't have it in me to step this up to that level, but Keef's my boy, he's my bro. Like let me in on this, let me help you out a little bit, but at the same time, let me have that outlet that I don't necessarily get to have on mine. And the reason why is because, like you said, like for me, in order for me to write that book, like there were so many different catalysts to it, and one of them was that because after a while, once with the blog, I was like, I don't want this to be an AP news blog. I don't want this to just be like a copy paste news blog. I love those, but like what I would rather do is I'd rather see the news and then write about what I think is about, you know what I mean? And sometimes people like that, sometimes people don't. It's not click worthy all the time, but
Yeah,
it did give me the ability that, because I was not at that level.
yeah.
And
I'll give
I
you
don't
a
think
counterpoint.
oh
I'll give
yeah,
you a
go ahead.
counterpoint. First of all, the only thing I have sleep medicine. I told my counselor today that my sleep medicine's it's a dud. It's not working, and I can't take Ambien and stuff like that. So the only thing that's been helping me is like gummies. These are like pineapple THC gummies. If I take a whole one, it knocks me the fuck out, but I'm still fucked up the next day. Um, but the
You just
downside is
reminded me, actually.
yeah, sure, take one. The downside that's going to get much more interesting in a second. The downside is like, I think because weed is so legal here, I don't think I can explore trying to get like a discount card or a medical whatever, but like I would need it. I can't afford like high end gummies all the time right
Mhm.
now, so like I would need help getting them, some kind of something. But the flip side to what you said is this: for a long time, for the majority of Ghost Cult history until like the last 3 years, every news story I rewrote the press release from scratch, with the exception of tour dates and links to buy things and facts, band lineups, tour dates, social media links. But I would rewrite the entire press release myself, every story. So it was 4 or 5 stories a day, because that takes time to do well. Um, and then because we got the affiliate deal where the more views on our website is more eye views of ads from Lambgoat and the programmatic advertising. And the way programmatic works is an eye view is like a nanosecond, and that counts as a micro penny. Whatever, enough micro pennies add up to a few $100 or a few $1,000. So now I literally used to criticize everybody else that didn't do what I did. And it turns out the real secret now for us is to just churn out as many stories as possible in a week, in a day, in a month, in a year, because that's more, just theoretically, more money. And I can cover more things by not writing something from scratch. And most of the time, the press releases are decent and I alter them for our formatting, but mostly I'm just throwing them up. Now, that being said, there's news that I break and find myself, like you found the story about Jess and the Ancient Ones, which I still need to get up and credit you for. But like, you did that. Nobody else has it. Nobody else has it. Not even the Obelisk, who covers stoner doom and psychedelic rock and stuff like that. Not even them. The grant, the best of the best. So like, you found news that was interesting to you and you curated that news. That's still what I like to think I'm doing. I'm trying to help as many bands as possible get out there, but it's hard. It's super hard. You're on mute. It's adorable.
Oh, I'm so cute. Yeah. Hey. But and I feel like, again, like to kind of go back to knock the ball back to you and to your side of the court was that what you said was that we're not just content copy pasting, put it up and hoping, you know, you're going to get click, 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 whatever, you know, but like for me, like you said, it is like the Just an Ancient Ones thing. Like there's this incredible band called Children of the Sun who just put out what I think is one of the best albums that's going to be released this year. And no one's going to hear about it. No one's really writing about it, you know? And so those were the kind of things that I kind of looked at, you know, and I was like, okay, this is probably the direction I want to go in. Like, I'm not concerned with monetizing. I don't really need it. I'm not looking to turn this into a job or a career because I don't want it. But what do I do want? Dude, I do love the fact that there's like this little band in Sweden who, you know, I posted a piece about on my blog, linked it to Facebook, then got a private message from someone that said this was my favorite album of 2022 when the last album came out, you know? And so like those are the things I look at and I go, this is why we do what we do. We do it for the love of it. We do it for the sheer passion of it. You have the drive, you have you have the insanity to do it. Like for me, it's like I look at it and I go, you know what? I can do it all. I can't do it. Yes, it's like how I am as a musician. I used to always, you know, whenever I do folk shows and I would have my acoustic guitar and play my harmonica, I always say, you know, like I would do two things very mediocrely, but if you did them together, it looks fucking badass, you know? And it's like, I kind of like to think of that as what I do is that instead of doing one thing and putting everything I have into it, like maybe I want to do the blog. I want to write books. I want to do the podcast. I want to play music. So it's like the only way I can do any of them really good is to not do any of them full time, you know? And so, but at the same time, my ADHD brain loves that because if I get tired of working on a podcast, I'll go write. If I get tired of writing, I'll go play me, you know what I mean? And so, but again, kind of like what you said, it's what I do. It's passion. It's love. It's something I've done ever since I was a kid, writing up my own interview questions for Bruce Dickinson when I was in 10th grade because I wanted to know what he sings in the shower. You know, like I wanted to know what David Gilmour listens
that's a
to
good
when he gets
question.
high. You know,
Don't ask about what pie they like. Ask about what they like. Find them in make a superstar person normal. That's a gift, man. Not everybody can do that. Like, because I think a lot of us are also in awe of these people. Like, I interviewed Dave Lombardo and Paula Lombardo on Monday, and it's been
which
on my
I can't wait
list.
to hear. I can't.
Yeah, it came out well. She didn't quite get my musical references that I associated with her, but that's fine. She had her own. I did say something which I think you can respect. I was like, there's 3 passports to being a singer: Broadway, Vegas, and Nashville.
Oh yeah,
For better or worse, I don't love any modern country, but like
100%,
the proving grounds of being a singer's singer. There's
Mhm.
not Hollywood musicals don't exist much anymore, and even when they do, they're dancing and not that much singing. La La Land, the recent West Side Story, even though the problematic actor is in it, I thought that was beautifully done. I know Spielberg loves that shit. I do too.
Mhm.
So it went well. I'm out tooting my own horn. Ghost Cult has interviewed Lombardo. I just never got to. So I got to, and I think I don't look at other people's stuff. That's another thing. I know a lot of people watch other people's stuff to learn what to do and not to do, which is a good thing when you're starting out. I'm not starting out. So I know if I watch other people's stuff, I'm going to taint my work. That's me. Pretentious. I get it. It's true. So, but I sensed from some vibes that I was getting from the publicist about how to approach the interview with Dave is to make it about this project right now. This is his passion. What he's doing right now is Venom Morris. He's always doing a bunch of things, but this project with his wife is super important to him. And I was like, I'm going to focus on Paula because everybody knows who Dave Lombardo is, especially if you read Ghost Cult. We cover Slayer constantly. Yeah. Even when there was no Slayer, we were still doing Slayer stuff. And he's been at a Slayer, like, you know, a long time now, almost 10 years now. So, which sucks, but I love Paul also, both staff. But you know, I made the interview mostly about her, mostly about them and her and their music together. And then at the very end, I was like, and what's going on with you besides? Can you share anything? Is it too soon? This, that. And he gave a little nugget of something that might be happening. But I really kept it on her, and apparently it was got back to the publicist that he was really pleased that the direction of the interview and the questions were, well, thank you for this thoughtful interview. He said, we'll talk to you again sometime. I was like, I hope so. We talked. Empire State Bastard came up, which is like his hardcore band. The
Yeah,
two British
yeah.
guys from Biffy Clyro and another band, and which was fun. And I was like, I was supposed to interview you guys in person in Chicago, and then you were rained out of the festival. And then the band was really kind enough, between the publicist and its roadrunner, who doesn't always favor us because they're Warner Brothers now. That's the problem, is all the little metal labels, when we were all like a little fraternity, got sucked up and subsumed by bigger labels. So, but like they were nice enough to, like, they felt bad that we got our interview canceled, and they let me do a new interview with them when they were in New York for a few days for a bunch of shows and
See,
showcases.
that's great.
So it was like very kind of them. He was mad. I was like, oh, I had a whole interview with the the Empire State Bastard guys, who raved about working with you. It was like their dream. They wouldn't do this project if they didn't have you specifically to do it with. He's so we talked about Mike Patton a little bit, because Faith and More and Patton, I'm like obsessed as a fan with them.
But he's also Mr. Bungle.
He's Mr. Bungle.
Yeah.
He's Dead Cross also. He's Misfits. When you talked about Misfits, I was like, he's got just 2 shows with Misfits. I don't know how much more we're gonna do. He said some nice things about Glenn.
Didn't he do some Suicidal before?
He was in Suicidal
before Weinberg got in. Okay, yeah.
For the last couple of years. He dropped out of Testament about 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago. He dropped out of Suicidal right before that to do Testament. They were mad. Like, there's like the constant shell game of drummers: Sepultura, Slipknot, Suicidal, Infectious Grooves,
The
Bungle.
spontaneous combustion is real.
Well, drummers, right? They just explode.
But one of the things I did like to kind of go out to with this was that that I kind of want to, like, for people who are listening that are gonna, if they're interested, if they want to get into this, if they just want to do it, whatever, or if they're just interested in hearing about it, is that one of the things that you were just talking about was, like, in the interview, like there is a right way, there's a wrong way to do it, but the thing is that all the training in the world, all the schooling in the world, all of the night classes, whatever, all the books you read cannot prepare you for being in the same room with someone that you're about to interview from a band, where they're like, you have 20 minutes, go, don't fuck this up. And I've actually had managers tell me something very similar, like, you've got 20 minutes, he is not in a good mood, Godspeed. And when I always just went with it, said, like, if you're going to interview somebody, like fanboy the day you find out you got the interview, you know what I mean? Like, fanboy, geek out, whatever. But then just remember that these people talk to so many fucking people. Like, what can you possibly do to try to break that mold for them? And the thing that worked the best for me was to just go in and just be like, dude, let's just talk. Like, I don't have a printout of questions. Like, I want, like, that whole concept of, like, oh, if I could only have Jim Morrison in a room for 10 minutes, like, what would I say? Like, you wouldn't be fumbling through papers. You would be wanting to ask him the things that are natural, that are coming right out of your brain, And one of the biggest things that happened to me that was such a huge thing was when I was interviewing Jordan Rudess right after they hired Mike Mangini on drums. And it was the first tour, and everyone was doing press, and everyone was getting asked about Mike Mangini versus Portnoy. So I get this interview with Jordan Rudess, the tour manager lets me in, and he goes, you've got 15 minutes. And I'm like, okay. And so I walk in, and Jordan is, I don't know if you've ever met Jordan, but he's like the gentlest, like, and he's like madness. He's like madness contained, and he's
kind of like Doc Brown on Quaaludes.
That's
very
exactly
scientific and chill, but he's also like, you feel like the fucking dude. He's got the $6 million man vision and hearing.
Okay, I'm gonna actually tell him that's what you referred to him. He's gonna love that, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
But
yeah, I've interviewed Jordan. He's amazing.
He's such a, but like, like, I had 15 minutes. I go and sit with him. I introduce myself. We sit down, And he's like, oh, okay. He's like, so what are we going to talk about? I was like, well, I'll tell you what we're not going to talk about. We are not going to talk about Mike Mangini, and we're not going to talk about Mike Portnoy, because I feel like everyone's talked about this. I was like, so if you're okay with it, I was like, I know this is a Dream Theater thing. I was like, so that we can touch on the, I said, but I'd like to talk to you if that's okay. And he was like, we can most certainly do that. And then he was showing me, it was the prototype for his app GeoShred that he was making at the time, and he's showing it to me. He's letting me play with it on his iPad, and then he's like, we're engaged. And then his tour manager comes in at 15 minutes and goes, like that, and Jordan goes, it's okay, I'm having a good time. You can.
That exact same thing happened with me and Omar. We interviewed him in his hotel room before a show, and he gave us overtime. He was like, no, I'm cancel whatever the next thing is. I'm doing them for longer. And we ended up talking for like 45 minutes about his solo record, which is fucking amazing. He also sings and plays guitar.
Yeah,
about as good as Petrucci. And he's
was it the Wired for Madness one or the last one?
He's better. He's a better singer than LaBrie probably. Also, by the way. Anyway, he's great.
Did you hear the sexy jazz song he has on that album where he sings
"Baking with the Love"?
Yeah, dude, it's like, but again, that was the thing, is that, like, you know,
show you right.
That is the
panty droppers. This
guy's such a smooth criminal.
So yeah, he's really such a Let me tell you a fun thing that kind of piggybacks off of this. So
please.
I got to interview Ozzy. I got to ask Ozzy one question in a room of people 15 years ago at the Tribeca Film Festival, which I also, by the way, I was a professional book reviewer. I was a professional film reviewer. Outside of Ghost Cult and Metal Army, I would go to these things and do reviews and actually get paid to do them sometimes. I used to write book reviews for a famous book review company, and they paid well, like $50, and I kept the books, and then I would resell the books on eBay when I didn't want to keep them. I just now noticed you have like a dancing bear's throw on your couch. Oh my God, I'll kill you. I want to set it on fire.
It's Ozzy Osbourne. It's Ozzy Osbourne's, but that's mine, man.
Well, I know. Well, he didn't go buy it. You did.
Well, you know your t-shirts.
The ones would come in them.
I had dead blankets.
All right, sure. Yeah, I bet. Of course you did. Of course you did. I had under this blue throw here over my bed. I had like a purple pen that exploded, and a girl came over my house, and she's like, "What? You fuck Grimace into a puddle?" I was like, "I did actually." That's the lube runoff from his butthole. Anyway, I interviewed Ozzy to bring this back off the horn talk, as Nick would say. I interviewed Ozzy, Tribeca Film Festival. God bless Ozzy Osbourne. There's a brand new, the third Ozzy documentary in 15 years is about to come out on Paramount Plus. But I interviewed Ozzy for God Bless Ozzy Osbourne. Right? He was not great, but still not as feeble as now.
Yeah.
And it's really beautifully done between Jack Osbourne, who I met was the executive producer, and two directors. And then it was premiered at the Tribeca Film Festival. De Niro and him did like a meetup. I got to photograph the red carpet a little bit, not to talk to them, but photograph De Niro with the Osbournes. It was great. So Ozzy does a big concert. People came from all over the world for this. And there's only two music journalists at this whole thing. Me and Jose Mangan of Sirius XM and Liquid Metal.
Oh, yeah.
And we're cool. He's cool. I think actually like Jose off the air and off of stage and is just down to earth regular guy. He's fantastic. I think like the personality guy is a different character.
He is a little over the top for me.
He's on top. He used to hang out with Pantera. That's why he's over the top. He just could never stop being that guy. But I think it's cool. He's great. We need a few of those guys for metal when we're not getting on the Grammy Awards and we're not getting respect anywhere. And if Soundgarden doesn't get in the Hall of Fame, I'm going to kill somebody. Anyway, I'm literally going to go on a shooting spree. Sorry. But so you get one question to ask Ozzy. And I'm wearing like a untucked button-down shirt and a blazer and jeans and my kicks. And I was like, "Hey, Ozzy, big metal fan my whole life, huge fan. Thank you for doing this." And he's like, "If you're a metalhead, why are you wearing that shirt and jacket?" I was like, "Because you dress up to meet royalty, right?"
Oh, no.
So people literally flew from around the world. We were given a packet this thick of Ozzy factoids. And people were asking me, like, is Ozzy really... You're a music journalist. Yes, I'm a music journalist and a metal musician. I was like, why is he really that famous? Is he just famous because of the Osbournes, or is he like important? No, he's fucking hugely important. He's hugely important to the history of heavy music. There is nothing else without Black Sabbath. Then his solo career, which was a complete fluke if you think about it,
Oh,
is unbelievable. Like, even if you don't like the records after Osmosis, up to Osmosis is pretty unfuckwithable, even when he was dressed like Liberace. So listen, he's fucking essential. Ozzy's essential. And I'm not ready for him to go. He really better not go anywhere. So
I was ready for him. I was ready for him to professionally go.
People are asking him about the different genres he's been in. This is in 2010, where he didn't make any other music except metal and rock, right?
Mm-hmm.
What other? It's interesting how you incorporated dance music. He's like, what? Now, he's not dumb. He's fucking deaf. And he was already obviously clearly with the Parkinson's, even though he was trying to call it something else. And so he would like hear a question, ask Jack, what did he say? And Jack would this, right?
Jack!
But literally, I'm like 5 feet away from Ozzy in the second row, and they're on the dais. So I said to him, Ozzy, you know, obviously, you know, you're loved the world over by fans for your music, but do you ever think that maybe some of your off the stage stuff has taken away, has detracted from the respect you deserve? I think that's a good question.
That's a very good
And he
question.
was kind of like, oh, you have the one good question. He was like, oh, well, I can't take back anything I've done. The Alamo, the bat. He literally was like, the Alamo, the bat, a bunch of arrests, my wife, a whole bunch of things I'm kind of regret. But my fans have loved me, and I showed them love back, and they've forgiven me a lot and gave me a lot of room. A long leash, he said. And he's like, that's a really good question. And I just hope like people when I'm gone, they remember the music most, not the character of Ozzy, not the TV show, not the dog shit, not anything else. I hope they only think about the music, because that's what I care about. And I was like, good answer, good question. I'm very satisfied. And then I was supposed to meet him, and there's this nebbishy cunt guy who's a photographer in New York City who like bum rushes people to get photos to sell. So literally Ozzy's like, man, his guy was going to be like, dude, I'm going to get you to get a picture with Ozzy. Give me your phone. Show me how to take the photo. He's going to come out with the security. I'm his guy. He will only stop for me. They're going to walk him out. Otherwise, I will stop him. I'll tell him to take a picture with this guy. He will turn around and smile for 30 seconds. I will get the photo, and you'll go. I was like, that's awesome. Because I had a whole talk with him about like, what's it like to care for Ozzy? He's Ozzy's guy. I think he may even still be with him.
Is his assistant Tony? That guy, yeah. It's still Tony? Gosh.
I don't know if it's still Tony, but it was Tony 15 years ago. And it was Tony maybe 10 years ago, because I saw him one more time at Ozfest Meets Notfest lurking around. And I was like, Tony, hey, I'm sorry about that photo that time. He remembered me. I was like, because look at this face. Can you forget this fucking face? It's like a fucking car hit me and ran over twice. So I look like I'm not mad. I interviewed Ozzy for one question, highlight of my career, along with a few other people. I have fanboyed out a few times. I couldn't help it. And a couple of other times I got my chops busted, and a couple of other times it was understood that I was like having a moment. But most of the time I'm composed and I'm not getting carried away. And sometimes I just love an artist so much I get fucking excited by them to talk to them. I had that with Twin Temple. I love their music so much. And first time I met them and interviewed them, I was just like verbal diarrhea. Mm-hmm. And recently, Coma Hole is a two-piece doom metal band from Rhode Island. I think you would like a lot. Psychedelic doom.
Oh, you told me about them. Yeah.
And I fucking love them so fucking much. And I watched them be so fucking hardcore and DIY and still do this shit at a high level. I'm shocked that they really haven't been snapped up by like a bigger, like a Nuclear Blast or Metal Blade should really put this band out. But if not them, like at least Ripple or Heavy Psych Sounds or Riding Easy should absolutely be signing them for the next thing. They just put this record out. So their debut, they absolutely need to get picked up for their next thing. So sometimes you just fall in love with a band. There's a bunch of them like that, I could say, across all kinds of metal genres. But, you know, I love what I do. The interview is probably the thing I think I pride myself the most on. And I'm writing less actual reviews. Yes. I'm going to less shows this year. I haven't photographed a show in a long time. And now I'm going to focus on making music again. So I'm going to make it fucking count, whatever I do. Because now I'm back in the game. This is pretty funny. I'm in a text thread with my former bandmates, including Omar, who I had a band with. I was in his band for a while. And I was like, Machine Head has a contest where you go throw a verse down on one of their brand new songs that's coming out. And I was like, oh, I'm going to put one in. And they were like, you? I was like, oh, you think I can't or won't? Fucking watch me now. Watch me. Here's the gauntlet. Putting thump right down on the floor. Fuck yeah. I'm gonna put it down on the table. I'm gonna beat the shoe like Khrushchev, bro. References is all I have is references and self-depreciating humor. But Don, man, I love you. I'm not ashamed to say I love you in front of God and Satan and the whole world. And please keep doing what you do. Don't lose heart and don't lose hope, and keep doing what you do. And kind of like Galactus, I eat worlds. So if I had the chance to work with you, I gravitate to quality and talent, not just because I like you. I wanted to work with you in some capacity. We would have either had our own podcast, or you would have wrote for me, or we would have collabed on something. But it's great to work with you, and it's, believe me, it's more for me than I'm sure you're going to get out of it. I promise. Same thing with Nick. But like,
you know what? I feel like we all do this for our own selfish reasons, but at the end of the day, like, I appreciate what you said, but like, we're family. We inspire each other. We give each other that little push, that little bit of extra gusto when we need it. And I can't thank you enough for being a part of my creative intellectual throuple with Nick. And
I love
it's
throuple.
Incredible.
It's like a bad Showtime program.
The throuple.
Him, her, and me. Next,
it would be
on
us.
Showtime at 9 p.m. Showtime after dark.
Well, the three of us could be roommates, and it could be a sitcom. But then every now and then they'd be like on a very special episode.
Only if there's a Chrissy or a Janet. I don't want to be in like 3 Jack Trippers and no Chrissy. Fuck that. That's weak.
I just want to be Mr. Roper.
It's not. Oh, dude, Mrs. I'll tell you what though,
Mrs. Roper
was a beast. I guarantee you, when
she was a dish, dude.
She was a hot dish. She had a fat ass and big boobs, and I think that curly hair probably was the same down south. A big 70s bush of red hair, like Annie, not the child. But
or as Chris Robinson once lovingly called it, the big 70s Earth Mama Muff.
The muff. Oh yeah, the Earth Mama Muff. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I would still.
Oh
yeah, yes, absolutely. I don't know what she looks like now, but I'd even entertain it if you told me she looked all right. Get some lube.
Well, this went on a totally other podcast, and I love this. This is what I love about us. This is where we go. So if you've never heard us on the Glacially musical podcast, this is what we sound like. If you ever heard us on my podcast, this is what we're going to sound like and what we do sound like. And if you like it, that's awesome. If not, fuck off. I don't care.
Trying
Come
to
back
do
and find
more,
something you like.
No, like we provide a service. I'm trying to do more staff stuff. I keep swearing I'm going to do it. I start out hot and it cools off. I'm doing the opposite this year. I'm starting off cool and I'm going to ramp up. So at a certain point, you and I will just meet up for a Ghost Cult podcast, and we'll have a specific agenda to talk about some music that's coming out. Maybe even follow up on the Just and the Ancient Ones when they announce something or drop a single.
I would love that. I'd love
probably
that.
Later in the spring or early summer. But like I need to actually start scheduling. It's March. Almost March. I need to schedule the rest of the staff there too, because a lot of them are feeling neglected. But yeah, man, thank you for having me. Thank you to your fans. People can follow me or not. It's okay.
They're gonna fucking follow you. I guarantee you. They probably already do.
Yeah,
if anything,
because we have a little cult now.
We really do.
But can disturb people.
I mean, after all, you're like one of the only people I've ever been openly able to say what I would do to a copy of Beast from the East.
Yes,
live by Dokken.
Yes.
So,
oh God.
But
do anything you want to it, but listen to it. Like, that's the problem. It plays music, and you don't want to be hearing it. Don,
again, I love this guy. So,
yeah, you're a gentleman, and I met Don Dokken, and he was really nice, and it made me feel bad because I was like, and then he went out and sang, and I was like,
I know,
10 years ago at a festival, and I was just like,
I met him here in Atlanta because I was not here in Atlanta because I'm not in Atlanta. In Atlanta when they were playing, like probably about 7-8 years ago, and it was not good. But I got to meet him before the show.
He's super nice. He's super fucking nice. And he has stories.
Guy.
Bro, we're snorting lines of this chick's ass cheeks, and we were trying to compete for who would get closer to the cinnamon ring. And I was like, bro, you are 70 years old telling these stories. Now, you know how Steve Buscemi's like bags under his eyes look like, or how Walken looks when he's like sleep deprived? Imagine Don Dokken's entire face just looks like a Steve Buscemi eyeball and baggy under eye.
Oh,
his whole face and neck look like that.
It's
his
like,
hair piece, whatever the fuck that is.
It's like all just like one
crater.
It's like
with features. It's a crater with features. It's the man in the moon, except it's right in front of you, and it's fucking horrifying.
It's like a high-res
photo
of Mars from the rover. Basically,
that too.
is what it is.
Yes.
But
Don,
Dude, we're gonna do this again though, for
we will.
sure, man. Because we're gonna
Your
do
fans
this.
might not enjoy that.
No, we've got plans already, man. So you know
Yeah,
it's
we got a
already
lot
gonna
of stuff in front of
happen.
us.
So, but well, Keith,
And
dude,
I may,
thanks for
we
doing this,
may,
man.
yeah, of course, we may meet in person at some point. That would be great.
Oh, we're gonna make it happen
All
regardless.
right,
Because
I gotta
remember,
get down to
if
Atlanta
or well, I'm
or
in South
somewhere else.
Carolina.
Oh, sorry, I keep
No.
saying
Yeah.
Atlanta, but yeah,
I
I know.
keep, dude. I just told you like when I was here in Atlanta. Oh yeah. Anyway, but
Right, right,
that
right.
all being said, we're gonna definitely meet up together. And if Lizzie gets rid of me anytime soon, you might just have a roommate. So who
Oh,
knows?
Jesus Christ. Well,
But
rent ain't cheap here, so as long as you're
I
working.
I don't care. Anyway.
All
But
right.
well, dude, thanks for doing this. And look, everybody who's listening to this is Keef, my brother in arms. I love this guy to the moon and back.
Hmm.
And ghostcultmag.com is the place to be. I love that site.
That's correct.
I frequent it a lot, obviously. And so, but check them out. Links will be down in the description and all that other good stuff. So, Keef, I'll talk to you in like an hour.
35 seconds. See ya.
Exactly.
Peace.
All right. Peace out, brother. Peace.